I'm Ryan O'Dowd, and you're listening to Ryan's Audiobooks on the Issues Magazine YouTube channel. Today we're finishing with Section 3.9, the Book of the Order of Celestial Integration. We're picking up at the beginning of the book, The Conquering Sun. 1. The stars are at war, single, drifting energies, beam radiation and cutting, steel waves, overcoming distance. Breaking out, settling into oblivion, unstilling the void, rays like arms, swords, brass and copper spearheads, bleed wounds of thermal waste. Nuclear effigies, erotic strangulations of pure liquid heat, the stars raging against the night burn beyond their cage. Murdering one another, eclipsing, conflicted, brutal and faithless, silent but ruthless, bleeding themselves dry. 2. The children are bound no more. Fingers are bent, pressed and pinched. Grip the hilt. Grasp the meat within, tearing out the useless part non-desired. Sterilized in perpetuity, the self makes the self eternal, killing all children. The potential, empty, rendered, and unforgiven. The children form mobs, they enter the agora, pulling the wives from their thrones. Be undone, traitor! You were warned, empty, vain. The hands of the offenders are cut, piles of human fingers, limbs. They stack up like trash, small puddles of blood and bile. Found among them the pearl. Each wedding ring melts is cast into mortars. Each missile blast becomes a new pile. The newly infertile become their own treasure. 3. Juggling on the roof while termites feast, the circus donkey brays release. A heroin shot in a junkie's arm, the schadenfreude betrays alarm. Watching worlds like a whirlpool run, faster athletes surpass the gun. Cheering crowds like breaking clouds release the riots as they won. Spiraling through like a hurricane, the monstrous, callous chord refrain. The spiders crawl as the viscera rains, a people torn asunder twain. Breaking the box to refill it, an essence breaks down to distill it. A fuel-filling panic is bloated. The fatherly victim is goaded. Dancers and jugglers rise and fall. The insects eat, destroy, and crawl. The monuments crashing tear down the wall. The victory ends with a call. The victory ends with a fall. 4. Parsing consequence from desire, want from will, the prophet concedes he can't know it. Are the inflamed masses possessed? Are they filled with the sunlight's intent? Does a prophet steer or just see it? If all is ignored, will he heed it? Cresting waves of red blood and broken wash, white sloshing bubbles in oceanic pulse. Empty screams from magic enhancements, a bare and broken body. 13 saviors amidst the refrain, broken bondsmen paid, but scholarly retreat, the criminal escaped before release. The payment like a shroud will cover them, 18 broken to lament, 7 forgotten the 3 narcissists twirl. Will you be there to actualize it? Will it happen through intent? Will your will like a robot follow, or are you steering from the cement? Light is seen and measured, in fact is time, and language is a transformation of the sound. The sound that can be seen on the telescreen, the time itself is the communication, so what is happening? Are you witnessing or causing? Oblivion knows but can't care. Nonetheless, the bloodletting shall begin, and the prophet is laid bare. 5. A word contains reality but also delusion. The technology of communication contains truth and falsehood. Any extension of the mind, technologically, extends truth and falsehood. Reality is a claim that can only house truth. Communication is a bigger realm than truth can contain. Communication contains reality and unreality. The formal technique of language creates a structure. The words denote meaning. The structure can remain consistent despite meaningless words. The creation of culture is the sewing of these meaningless words to truth. Culture, being a technology of communication, must always contain falsehood. The truth is undermined by its communication. Culture is its own contradiction. Six. Confusion, no witness. Saturated gray, a tempest. Tornado, a hurricane of bodies, blind. Made blind from sand. The rocks slash at my eyes. The blood is not my tearing. The something is unknowing. Arise, await. A song form in the maelstrom. A hinted silent broadcast. A deficit of meaning. An empty, hollow nothing, impenetrable smoke clouds flail in the madness. A creak, a whisper, enhancing to a shout now, muffled screaming, wordless, howl of abstract pain, forgetting, forgotten, a distance in unknowing, a nothing in our labor, an inefficient table, the emptiness resounds. Seven. Blue Nile lily, draped over the coffer of the murderer of apostates, the inbred dead child king. The irony, the elixir of the gods, the soma spilt like wine on the ashes of the monster. The sun, the holy god, the sun, the Aten, the Ra-Aten, the sun disk of the whole shimmers light on tiny waves, blue azure, rippled, pockmarked water. It opens in its rays, resplendent and orange in paradox. The two sides tensely squared in dialectic. The flower opens too, the blue becomes a bed to lie into, to sleep among the reeds. It opens for the sun to drink upon its rays, the blue-white water swallowing the red fire of creation. The king is dead. Who killed him? The king who killed the Aten. The sun will blaze forever. The flowers bloom and wait, before time, to rise again. Eight. Red mercury. The promise and suggestion emblazoned in ink, an ancient parchment, a new and sacred fluid, a rock of regeneration. The antiquity bears promise, the eternity in motion. But also, a necessary evil, the destruction of the atom. The transgression of the modern is the environment in breakdown. None can be trusted with the power of death. The shadow is born in the crystal of eternity. The futility of now possesses the abyss. The rectification of power in stone. A new holy union is manifested in the archway of the temple. The quartz-like shimmering sacred energetic waveform, the ultimate result of a hidden unknown method. Pulling gold from mercury, from baseline metals, energy from nothingness, eternity from death, the real reality. Mayhem explodes as cancers develop, swarms of broken electric bonds, shattered neutrons, empty carcass, atomic bliss. The orgasm of the H-bomb, the relentless coming mission. The heaven promised is a tumored population. The death and life in one, eternal and omega, the final consolation. Don't you want the murder that will live forever? Don't you desire the blood-red vulva of sacred fornication? Isn't your dick releasing for the promise of true killing? Become the red mercury and realize your eternity. 9. The form over the water. A spirit in the chaos, a being in the moment, a shattered ego remnant, a forecast backwards. God meets God on an ocean crest. God says to God, make me again, make me God, make God of me, make God of God. Split the nothing from nothing, take one half nothing from the other half, take nothing, fashion from the wastes a new nothing. The nothing we can call God because the God made it. I made it. I am the God of nothing. I float upon the waters. I render it from nothing. I make myself. Ten. The one elementary force. Before there was nothing, and after the all, the light turned to light at the shadow's edge manifest. A broken mirror shards, 72 pieces from 14 identities. A great time afterward, the fulfillment became swollen. It birthed a new eon of non-righteousness, neither evil nor good nor neutral in nature, a being inert and active, both a redeemer in ivory, a calcified entity, an empty-headed martyr, a brainwise chief. The silence of epiphany dawns upon the monster. The only true judgment undone and rendered beneath and within, the silent numerical chamber. The patterns of quarks in down up down lepton maverick garnered, the new triumph. The empty vacuum devoid of light, where the abyssal migrant ventured to hold and retrieve the data of forlorn emptiness, a zeitgeist of undoing. A new and holy union, the brevity of scorn, the unmaking of the vile, and the ascension of the undoing of man, this creature, a force beyond matter, made up the fencing. A seamless, energetic field, a pulse beyond hearing, whose absence in reality and whose inverse is death. An unholy mitre, the scepter drawn, gives blood for its telling and renders loss for life. The force, unknown but contacted, the overwhelming urge, the orgasmic fire, the ecclesiastical pull drowns its victims in words of harsh water. The penultimate swing, metal fabric, torn metronome, stilled, forgotten member, their ungod tortured and removed from his cross, killed again and contacted, ordered to be murdered thrice, dead, dead, dead. Long live the Sephiro, the Azrael, the martyred. Long live pride and defiance and greed, and long live the self, unbroken for eternity. Make us into your victim, become the climactic pull. Bring us closer to your unholy gaze. Shatter us in your multitudes. Bring forth the army of knowledge. Give us our reins, subdue the earth, expand into the cosmos. Unite the individuated, conquer the meek. Bring down for good the price of love, and become the new triumphant light. An age again to be what one is, an age to represent Faust, an age of Molech, an age of Tyre, an age of Sidon, an age of Sodom, an age of blood, and from this age give power to those who kill the old. Give power to those who contrive to capture the sun. Lean the masses towards the suicide of capital. Bring them rising like radiation, expanding and corroding against the Ancient of Days. Give earth her due forever. Alam. 11. Many ways to calculate calendars. Any pattern is a clock. Moments can be measured within contrived distances across nonlinear expanse. What has repetition has time, but timelessness is random. The repeating talk of the slave master, the constant recasting of tradition, any random pulse can be a second. The sun casts away itself forever. The Aten always burns and knows and empowers. We seek its wisdom, we follow its chevron, we enjoy so much its holy light. But in attempting to kill it, to capture it, define it, rendering the patterns of its creation, and bringing forth new means of holding master to the enemy, we break its truth. There is no repetition. The clock is our whip. The sun gives light without restraint. For no moment does it withdraw. In the jungles, running captures the prey. In the offices, typing on computers. In the old wooden ships, garrisoned for battle. In the candy maker's oven, baking in clay. In the hut and in the mansion, on foot or by car. In the rocket in water, under roof in the weather. The sun is eternal, and time does not tick. The age is repetition. When we break without restraint the abomination of tradition, we will overcome at last that which shadows our desires and binds us in non-communicative, empty, distraught pedants. We want this freedom again. Unleash us. Make it make sense by making no sense. A revolution in culture, the Aten ascending to his holy path, once more burns away the forgiving and the meek, laying waste to the infidels who call themselves bosses, ignoring all law as empty human contrivance and bringing true life to this unholy place. Build now the palace of the sun, build now his holy sepulchre, shatter everything and once it's called itself God. Bring the Aten again, bring the Aten again, bring the Aten again. Alam, 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 alam. The brain in the box. There is an angle, a ray of intent, velocity directed away beyond order, an area diffused with a magical rebounding, an invocation rendered, a separation founded. There is a void, full only of thought forms, a plane beside the only, divided but connected, the mind in the air. There is a realm where vistas are unending, chromatic video tunes to radio formations. There is a self, in a rumor of distinctions in the parasitic mind space, the holy of all holies, the God in the God. There is a bolt, an idol full of gnosis, an existential fury, an overwhelming ego. There is a fire, the furnace ever burning, the flames beyond creation, the entity unswerving, the mind, the brain, the God within the God, to the order, from the chaos, the cold entropic spirit. There is a force, deliberate but formless, inconsequent but timeless, the noise within the silence. You are the one, the holy of all holies, the balance of all forces, the manifest potential. You are the holy, emptied of all voidhood, full to full with nothing, outlined by the order. In you there is no word. The Word was one with God. The God has never been. You are the only none. 13. Silence, entropic, redundant, asthmatic, forgotten, and heroic. The martyr empties himself. The hypocritic release, a severed vein, a suicide, a death to the mover. Killing yourself is sold as an action. A hero's death, a tombstone, a statue built beyond space, a promise of mansions in the Homeric heavenly ether, a throne beside God in the Holy of Holies, is built death rendered selfish, the swallowing of pills. An outstretched arm, an open belly, a sword against the temple is a holy waste. A martyr is called angelic, a soldier of the highest, a victor beyond death. A martyr is a celebrity. A saint is a movie star. An apostle is king. Lay your life for me, saith the Lord. Let your hair down and stretch those wrists. Slice and cut the love of creation. Erect a wooden cross and stab your own side. Let water like blood pour your own new stigmata, the sign of your victory. Hooray! You're dead. Hooray! Hooray! You've judged yourself worthy. The wrath has been emptied. Your murder is the love of Christ. I love you so much, my father, I love you. Your love has no bounds, and you love how we kill. I'll kill for you, father. I'll die for you, father. My father, my father, my father, my father. I'll execute children. I'll jump into fires. I'll murder the infidel. I'll lay down my life. Death is the concern of the Most High. The pilgrim's duty is to die. Love is an explosion of blood. The highest movement is murder and suicide. This is your cross that you carry. Carry it. Carry it. Die for your father. (16) Eunuch devotees, fanatic line-labeled arsenals, staged forced confessions. The bloody once was now empty severed meat in the bottom of perdition maverick calls. Assembled in 4s and 5s, forgetting the intensity, as the severed pitch rose, sergeants emasculated, torn asunder, stare into the private's eyes, tearing swollen, bloody stumps. Cloaked in literal and figurative, swaddling clothes like babies unborn, the children are now dead. The future has been stopped. The tempests rage, the fireflies react, the light is pointing and peaking, the lurching zombie hordes are mangled. We are the children of the now dead gods, we are the enlightened ones, forgotten and foaming at the mouth like rabid dogs, bleeding from the crevice where our manhood once was, cutting into the self and the past witness of our enemies. We are the ones who time forgot. We have no future. We stole our path. We will cut your arms off and topple the tyrants. We will catch your hands and tear wedding bands from bodies. The fingers stacked like kindling are the greatest rotting siblings. We annihilate our offspring. Abortions are our envy. We've killed our own. We are the fatalistic nuns and monks here. Sons and daughters tore out our reproductive glands. We'll kill you if you've joined in nose. We'll live inside forever. We'll eat your corpses to flagellate the system. We are our own doing. We are the promise of death. (17) Crimson sweeping waves, electronics sapped like wind from darkest spaces. The radio shimmers photons harsh like sands blown from heated dunes. It cuts the eyes and breaks the magnetic paths as it exudes. The orb shifts its light. The cascading trial collapses. The static pulse reflects. The endless, obstinate will reflects. Like clockwork or a pulsar, begotten repetition, every second stalking, clicking, coalescing. From images of air would blast from iron and aluminum spans. The lightning, bottled and controlled, beams out across all lands. The men in boxes twisting knobs, the screens are flickered as they turn. A mixer, a turntable turns to blend the visual noise. The black and white encased swirled storms of red and white noise fabric shake through each moment, describing our world in contour, turning. Before the whoosh, the splash, the burning rush, men hide under trees, then a constant, deadly silence. The lights turn off at once. All stations are retired. No telephones are working. The internet is unplugged. (18) In the end, we take solace in the eternity of tomorrows. Every morning brings a night, and every night a morning. All the calendars collide, time sinking into nothing. The vapid days melt lazily, tomorrow swells upon them. We're born, spilled out from our mother's tomb. We're formed, like dust piles assembled and stitched. When we arrive, the light is teeming. The doctor slaps, temperature taken. It greets us, breaks us, makes our days. defines our lives, shows us our words, strange vocabulary, bursting noise and orange hue of furnace employed. The nuclear density breaking new days transforms through cool alchemy into a river of fresh magnetic waves, taken by food and breath and beat, into the cauldron of the general's heart, sworn to hate and black death efficiency, transforms its light into mass infections. Become the eye, reveal the eye, the mirror light image reflect the eye, light, food, flesh, thought, terror, light, food, flesh, obstinance, light, flesh, food, rigor, death, and life are exactly the same. The sum of our lives are exactly the same. The nothing and meaningless endless days drivel becoming the fury of unfettered fire. The nuclear wave, the frame and the object, alchemy stays, the frame delays. It is the fuel, and the fuel becomes us. We become fuel to destroy the fuel's focus. Light one another on fire and blaze. We are consuming the end of all days. We cannot escape it. We are the... Thus concludes The Conquering Sun. And now on to the final book in the Book of the Order of Celestial Integration, called Grasping the Promethean Flame. 1. In the Future, the Past. Everything that was will be, every iron general, sword up, crossing rivers in metallic armor, every squid ink pen-scratching papyrus, incantations chanting an histrionic spell, the architects of the ziggurats, the sages of Tao. Every new condition contains an archetype of the past, burst and bloom like from seed, the intentions of kings and warriors and tribesmen flowering into a new and holy Armageddon. The future is strewn with visions, electric, copper, silver, gold, metal lines laying in every direction, climbing buildings of integrated circuits, providing all means in sustainable utopia. The future cannot separate from the past. The order of the phalanx is implicit in every software prototype. The transmission of information by power, the scrolls melt and recast as dynamos. We are buried in the seas that form beds to great cables, the rocking waves with lightning, grasped and forced into tiny boxes. The images and screens, holographic histories, are real and will expand. This tech is our army. It will march in perfect order. It will form the boundaries of our lives. It will punish the wicked. In the future is the past. Progress collapses upon itself. A Messiah changes everything. The language irrevocably sworn. Recast generals' epaulets into chip fabs and artificial wombs. 2. A familiar breakdown. This is the moment that we know, a recursive spiral in eternal regression, a closed circle flattened. The moments we had where we breathed in late, together with the perfect language of Enoch, into the air quivering as lips shaped vowels, and bodies moved in tandem, dancing like ecstasy propelled by inspired madness. A glow swollen full cups, brains broken like eggs. Love soaked cum and mental albumin poured down the palace of our flesh. If the body is a temple and the temple houses God, then we filled one another with the Holy Spirit, who was grieved by the audacity of our love to front. Because God is in the cum, and the cum is everywhere, and inspiration ignites the olfactory sense. Chakras pulse in blood-filled Sephiro I am, until the moment lapses. The pictures like pictures are there to study. The life distills dissonant dissociative. The liquid divinity carries the light, can be watched like an old cathode television. The memory is rebroadcast. The light reassembles, but disconnects from the flesh. 3. Bloodbirth, pride, and dilation. Entranced by the noble memory of loss, divined from greener pastures, a harlequin she marches into this our new Rome. She rides on 7 horses with daggers in each hand, 13 eagles' feathers aligned. Her callousness is infamous, her blood-soaked vision terrors. The thrice-notched broken arrow's end penetrate the mark exactly. Aiming for her restitution, she climbs amicably towards us. The desolate magma fissures entertain her empty solace. Proud and full of Vitas, she aims to empty her quiver. With each new hand spear slung, a new procession is marked. As she lurches forward in rapt anticipation, her triumphant queenhood extends invisibly. Now swollen with her aptitude, the death angel ejaculates upon us. We melt like empty folly into a ground which takes no notice. 4. A swollen cock is an omen of good fortune. A swollen cock is an omen of good fortune. It promises a just reward. It sings sweet songs to you. It encourages good action. A swollen cock is an omen of good fortune. It is the Puritan's work ethic. It says hard work pays off. It says something is waiting for you to keep trying. A swollen cock inspires. It sits in reservation. It screams in joy. A swollen cock plunges foolhardy into the moment. It seeks new vistas. It breaks the ice. It masters any necessary task. It is always silent, but jumps in excitement. It is a beacon pointing the way. It broadcasts its intentions. It communicates clearly without making a noise. A swollen cock makes one hungry. It promises a meal. It has no judgment. It aims to please. At the sight of swollen cock, I am directed to obey. I love to submit to the perfect divinity. The cock contains God. When it swells, it is like the prophets wrapped bursting with the Spirit, beckoned beyond will to ejaculate its truth. To seek this truth is the highest aim, to renounce the world and attain this gnosis, to take into oneself the Spirit of Christ, to accept with perfect faith all it contains. A swollen cock will be my salvation. The precum anoints, strung up like hard wood. Beaten close to the edge, I am pierced by the spear. Water flows from the wound, a liquid put to my mouth like wine and hyssop. A swollen cock is fully man and fully God. Knowing our pain, it understands us and promises an eventual reward. As it stands facing heaven, I can see the blood, red just beneath the skin. It quivers in transcendence, pain, or ecstasy. It screams its last. My legs break. It gives up the spirit. It takes it into myself. A swollen cock is an omen of good fortune. 5. Banished. Banished from the 5th dimension, locked, aware of transcendence, charging against the gate. I slam my body against the spiritual prison walls. A disgusting shrew blocks the gates to heaven. He's elemental in his grating shit. What a terrible horror he is, giving credence to nothing, to the totality of the pointless. What a fucked, stupid arbiter. He sits there on guard. He maintains grotesque distortions. To kill the God of the angels is the whole of my desire. To conquer and seize the whole of heaven. I would run him through, push him into blades, destroy the ligaments that hold him, and piss on his dying screams. This so-called God is not worth anything. A moron, a fucked, drivel-spewing hate-monger, a terrible, disgusting lie, a fucked horror. Beyond all evils, the literal worst, this fucking cock-faked shit. He needs to die. Kill him with me, this self-appointed guardian of the conventional insane, this mutated golem. His face is twisted by lies and perversions, his traps, his marriage, his church. I would gladly kill everything if it meant his end. There is no justice in him. There is no grace. There is no forgiveness, only hate and anger, rage and injustice. Banished from him, more like permitted to avoid. If only he was not everywhere. He's the only and ultimate untruth. Eradicate the dimensional, set heaven on fire. Kill all who claim his spirit. Destroy with finality his dictatorial reign. Sink the ship and let it be done. 6. The guillotine, the gun. Who would say something so inflammatory in a time of need? The leper holds out his hand to rule, to beg. He commands the entry to the promised land. But he cannot forget the past and those who spurned him. Yes, bitterness and envy are his motives. This isn't a biblical text. The journey is not forgiveness. Your God has no place here, and besides, he has forgotten you. So the leper stretches out his hand and says, I must have. You must give, and you must give. If you don't give, you can't live. The banishment beyond the wasteland. He came from the desert, the original. He was birthed by Eden, the not of Eve. He has sentience in his father, the djinn of smokeless flame. He imparts his will upon this mass of flesh. He lives in areas unseen, his body, a mere puppet. He is strung into the life form. So the leper stretches out his hand, and you will give to enter his Jerusalem, or you will die in radiation, heat, and desperate annihilation, a martyr among the sand, the endless sand. When Baghdad bordered Argentina, and the jungle ran like a jaguar to Tierra del Fuego, there were few fish, but so much left, and so little to give. The leper is your king now, your God, your entreaty. The policies of the Jacobins irrelevant. The guillotine, the gun, the revolution is the master. The overlord is the fist in the street. The hate called the old guard, and the new Atlantis remained, a burnt-out vision of authority, an extension of knowledge, but an absolute in solace and adventure. Seven. All roads lead to dissolution. An agenda of reflection upon the impertinent self, a future maintained in perfect resplendence, wired up and powered by the degenerate affirmation, styled by agents of inverse orders, monks, nuns, and acolytes bound to dispel the golden myth. Journeys into the void of the material urban excite, apostles of sex, drugs, madness, and indulgence, boldly breaking in the pantheon's tradition, anal penetrators, self-created artists, bold lion zephyrs floating about, spraying random ejaculations, tasteful elixirs designed to transmute, transform, and transpond, broken deities, half-worn entrails, the past's solemn forget. These are the hedonistic priests of a better revelation. They come to bring the world of flesh forward into subversive matrimony. The counterculture enshrined, the broken, thrice-fucked tenors licked, the self-abasement continues. The emperors ascend in desolation to make desolate. We are the arbiters of unknowing. They are your paraclete. They absorb your needs. 8. We are gods, we are men, we are perfect. We are gods, we are men, we are perfect. The fulfillment of decades of hope, an egregious and masculine employ, broken, not bending, not bare, lies in direct, perfect order, hearts broken down, no repair. A wholly new machine of terror submits each new step to the path. 9. Maintaining the self in isolation even into eternity. This thing I call myself, a part, component, reflection of the all, a momentary eruption of fractal seed, an expression in process like a crystal as it is forming, this is the eventuality. The crystal and the flesh move until they've no fuel, and at that point they give up the ghost. It is a record of transformation, the observation of the reaction, the unfolding of the projection, the playback of the tape. We're watching ourselves backwards. The future is our reign, the past is an illusion. The Pleroma insists that the all is all, that enlightenment is surrender, that yourself must be banished. The oracles and sages scream, let yourself go, let the laws dissolve you. Let your being dissolve, the God and the gods of the ancient and mighty scream, lose all you have in order to find it. The multitude listens, the church is an army. The karma is crowded, the ego is duped. Differently, though, do I scream from the rafters, like a pharaoh or sorcerer, keep your whole self. Maintain and protect it, hide deeply this ego. It's all that you're made of, the only thing subject. Forget the dream of rash connection. Forget the sublimation of grief. Make use of your most wicked vision to bring your entity into the most high places. This is the dream of the few and the mystic, not to dissolve into some unrendered pattern, not to obey at the gate of the temple, but to keep oneself hidden and take it to death. Breach the velvet rope to refuse to connect, to have your ego never-ending, to batter your core, to refuse to promise, to utter insanity, to turn down salvation and keep it all in. Invading the hearts of men. Dark reticent, solipsed hollow, burnt-out buildings, rust-colored clouds and smoky haze, ships in the sky like emeralds, a canvas backdrop of pin-shaped points, light mutilated, and drunk like a stupor, these are your ancestors. Held in the carotid valves, empire's pulses retain. The purpose drove myth lays claim to the blood, streaks of gray, generals in gun, the giants of the ancient world. Terminology manifests will in a dream-like connection maintained. There's an ancient connection of blood, DNA, and information trapped, a time-sensitive wormhole, an ancient race of conquerors. These are the religious martyrs. The saints and monks, compassionate, ancient, but foreign. No one recognizes them here. 11. Sucking cock. Sucking cock to manifest your will, swallowing cum to entertain you. 1,000 silent whispers erupt from my quill as I swallow the load to maintain you. Mainlining your cum like a purpose of heart, unyielding, relentless, and focused. The stomach pain hit like a cum-ridden dart, which transmutes it into internal locus. The pussy lip lotus blades tempt as they part, preparing a channel to travel. The minister in me succumbs to the art, an inferior hardness, a gamble. You spill in my throat as I shoot in your holes, like a marble man Greek and profound. We're making archangels from semen and souls. Messiahs/fuck slaves are crowned. 12. An ideology of erect consistency. God, to behold that perfect stiff intention, to ride in perfect lineage and startle metered essence, the electrons pulse like neutron stars. In perfect order they bend my will as they bend myself. Destroyed by perfect masculation, chewed up in the steel machinery, resplendent in their terror, fear concretion like perfect glass obsidian, they hate, unbreaking, unyielding. The essential dick is a perfect soldier. The essential man is the form of a gun. Through terror and angst maintained in threats, in unyielding progress, the penetration of solace, at last I die. At last I am conquered. At last I am fucked. At last I am nothing. His transcendent power crushes me into nothing, and I sing the anthem of a new flag ridden erect. Kill me, you fuck. Kill me. Fucking kill me, you fuck. Fucking kill me. "13. Champion of the eternal solips. You are not only all you need, you are all that is. I am all that is. You are everything and everything to all. I am everything and everything to all. We inhabit magic spaces. There is a broken wardrobe just beyond the edges of your vision, just beneath the matter of your house. Dig up the foundation, dynamite the concrete. Beneath the dirt where you bury your lies, deep in the secret places underneath the synapse, beneath where you first masturbated, hidden from your hatred, digging deeper in the realm of the unacceptable, you are. You are an entity of terror and permanence. Your being is unrestrained. You cannot go away. You are eternal. Beneath the victims of your mind's fantasy, hidden from perversions of your youth, charging away from the limits of social acceptance, buried under the awareness of morality, you are there. A being of perfect and eternal light waits to resurrect yourself from a forced early death. Deep beneath the awareness of others, you are eternal and unyielding. You are your own God. You are all that is. You are everything, and everything is yours. Nothing can stand in your way. All is your will. Seize what is yours. Your eternal isness, you are what is. You are. You are. You are. 14. Penetrating the silence. Static relays erupt, powered metal screeds, slicing into bolts. Cosmic background pulses. Silence makes the matter. Energetic wavelengths. Resonant like stuck chords, pluck strings shudder madly. His harmony in tandem. Bursting forth from dark stars, sending radiation. Deep green into the cosmos, elemental moments. The earth like a viola, a struck bell fills the void. The new dynamic whisper protrudes from the center, a galactic black hole fission. Energetic wavelengths spew in all directions, silent in their mastery. Our wills all fill the void here, projection from the center, the sun behind the curtain. Her energies are seething. Our molecules to worms writhe, our atoms are all moving. The serpents overcome us and swallow into black holes the negative reactions. Matter-antimatter polarizing clashes, the nothing into being. The penetrating silence, our body is a scream, hear the nihilistic trumpets. Penetrating silence, our being is a whale, the great galactic blue balls. Penetrating silence, we synchronize with Saturn, we are the world's new anthem. 15. Reality is too much. We are rapidly approaching the inescapable. The will is degrading and the underlying is exposed. The skin of the earth is wounded and bleeding. We can see the fissures in operations. The blood is a mechanical black hue. The hemoglobin aligns according to the occult magnetics. The danger lives inside of us now. There will be no singularity. We are already magnetic. Reality is too much to bear. We wear the honor of our ancestors inside of ourselves. Our DNA contains the information. The startup disk is full. Our will is writing the moment. Our projection into the atmosphere, the potent. Electric power generators and factories are tied to us, not only in spirit, but in flesh. We are become the instant, the prince of the power of the air. We transmit ourselves each moment. The angels do battle in the heavenlies. We are the prosecutors of man. Our minds control the airwaves. We are the powers and principalities. Great spirits awash in a massive internal connection. The information in static waves penetrates our skin. We direct our minds and hearts and get away with murder. The imperial whim is our master. We wear our crown. Reality is too much to bear, and yet we must bear it. Armed as we are with the knowledge of transmission, the source of radiant and eternal energy filled to the brim, bursting the cosmic power, radiant will burning down with intensity, we create the dawn. We are the source of the morning and night. We bring sunrise and set. We are the end. 16. Crossing the velvet terminus. Innumerable armies gather, legions regular in ear, drawn in assemblies beyond count. All are in attendance. Records of deaths, lines longer than history. There are featured men from every great empire. Babylonians and Vedic warriors, fascists and communists, imperialist guerrillas, revolutionaries, reactionaries, religious and anarchist militias. All have gathered before the clubhouse, ready to bomb the walls. There's a wall between the dead, a war of economy, entertainment, and clash. Disjoined and waiting for their rewards, their betrayal was guaranteed. The clubhouse was almost empty, gilded on silver and platinum, full of expensive renditions, brightly lit in angelic majesty. The men of the sword camped outside, refused and reprehensible. The velvet rope becomes the border therein. A war is waiting and will continue, dividing the proud and mighty from the indulgent and pleasurable, and heaven remains closed to those who defy its laws. One day we will rush the camp. "17. Living forever now. You already are. Never an embryo, no child, an energetic being, a permanent self. Your skin is your manifestation, the lines on your hand, the pencil you hold, the drawing you left behind. Your history is captured in the actions and reactions of your destinations, your destiny, your will. You're already eternal, a perfect glowing being, an inexplainable confluence of streams, a goat and a sentinel. Your eyes reflect light ever dusting on the lids, a dilated pupil, a bit of skin float pierced by the sun. You are the sun, digested, emerged and reflected, a chaotic but fixed energetic intention. The self of myth and legend, the I am of the ancients, an indwelling spirit, the ultimate beingness, you are the one that holds it together. You make others what you are. Your reflection is transforming. The world is your mirror. A new bright dawn awakens as you take your place amongst the gallery of the ancients. As you make yourself again into an unconquerable juggernaut, an unrelenting procession, a crucible of dynamics, a shell made solid by holographic solidity, you already are. "18. The self consuming the self. Eggshell calcinations thin to thick, from the unquenchable sun layer upon layer, out to the eternal night, Aten-Ra, surrounded by Osiris and each breakable layer, housing a new and unique personality, the shadow of the self Saturn, the scream of consciousness, the will cast light through the keyhole. The presence of the other, peering into the void, the self sees the self. The other retains its uniqueness. The poet retains the connection. A flashlit entity broken breaks the light and the darkness divided. By ever-thinning layers. No steel beams, no fiberglass containers, no plastic, no wood. The brittle pieces separate each identity, woven to dust by a shallow wind. The fist breaks through them, erupting the law. Nuclear forces, the heat painstaking bursts through each new layer, tear asunder. The light is always approaching the darkness, but the darkness is too fast. It's everywhere that it isn't, and isn't has no limit. The self consuming the self, eating the self, making use of us, mastering it, transforming it, transmuting it, transcribing it, the self hammers the self. The will is the archon. The identity is molded. Each forever is your weapon, the hammer to forge yourself, the golden promise of the Godhood. We are the doubt between layers, the self consuming the self. We articulate the darkness. Saturn is our keeper. We direct the rays of the sun. We manifest the seething energies of Lucifer. The god of light surrounded by darkness molds the light and determines our will, demonstrating our forces, empowering our madness, giving our access to eternal fuel. We build ourselves from the light, manufactured, and understand its reflection. Saturn teaches us our outline. The eggs are all broken. We are it. The self is the essence. Keep it unto death. Keep it beyond Hades. Keep the self and kill death. The self, consuming the self, is eternal. 19. Orgasm or apotheosis. Why are we here? What are we doing? We become gods when we fuck like this. Your cum becomes me, you swallow myself. And we lay on this new chair and table, you, seated 3 feet from my eye, internally erect, sitting firmly in pole position. Your spine uncoils and your chin lifts in pride. Your arms gently cross your thighs. They are relaxed but formal. Your godhood is showing again. You gather your force like a sage. You strike the pose of merciful majesty. Your head tilts ever so slightly as you guide me to your destination. You sit atop your throne in a perfect image of manhood, of godhood, of resilience, but your body cleaves to mine. But there is no need expressed, no hole within, no emptiness, no lack. There's a continuum of completion, of noble detachment and tranquility, so that when you do come, it is presence and alignment. Your lip slightly moves, your eyelids shudder, your pleasure gently cresting to an unfettered crack, the smallest moan, and love may be ascendant in that moment. Your orgasm is your apotheosis. These are the moments of transcendence. Your body vacant for 3 or 4 seconds beyond your power of will, yourself othered into a bliss, the rest of you here in my arms. You are my Christ triumphant, and you're within me, despite he'll never be again. 20. The opiocratic central pooch. From a small stone hidden, bearing itself from behind the inferior chasm, an eye, a cave, a pulsar, projects the hologram from itself. The madman has taken the prison. Our God is a servant of none. He is atoning angel no more. He forgives no one. He holds all power in himself. He flies like night through the theater of the brain. He understands the perfect unity and creates synaptic blasts. He promotes a kind of amalgam, melting down the spoon and fork to render new arms. The bullet is the placement of his spine, where he shoots into the heart like an eros of hatred. He, her, them, the snoiling snake ascends the tree. The 2 serpents divine recombine make 3 to meet in the generation of perfection and swallow themselves whole. There are winds, snakes, fire, and light here. The 3 become one. The man has his way with us. We are bound by the affliction. Father kills son, spirit swallows father. All is forgotten in the triumph of Sophia. We abolish the urge. The connection is holy. Wires weave through our bloodstreams. The flower petals absorb the drip, drip, drip of the poison, relieving the anxiety. It helps us into our carriage. It refines us. It slows the disaster. It becomes our tomorrow. The serpent unwinds and lays across the sky. It becomes the night like morphine, guiding us into sleep and releasing us from our own divinity. The machinery caves. A spoke in the gear, the lubricant slows. It massages the fear, and we die to ourselves in the holy soma of great forces reversal. 21. Their uniforms a metaphor. They've made their haste to the once frozen waste, birthed civilization upon the winter desert. Tired, worn, wilting, damaged, hard caravans of desperate people. Faces wrapped by scarves, skin torn and calloused, bodies broken. Battered from 1,000-mile marches, trek and hike from wilderness disposal. Ventured river crossings of hollow persecutions. The seas are boiling elsewhere. The death of algae festers. The stink of rotten tundra. The methane pools are drawing. They come, the new Atlantis, the promise of salvation, the antiquity revived now, the technology constructed, from every corner marching, from every nation draining, the immigration coming, the people are all moving, to fill the domed and polished glass. Heat cold made resistant, the iron lungs rebreathing, the tanks of algae swirling, the solar convents here now. The people trained to gear now, the whispers have their secrets, the gnosis is but pending, the uniforms are sigils, the governors are reigning. From 15 countries, 12 tribes, 33 base occupations, 9 assembled classes, 3 immortal motives, they'll turn the ice to mortar. Their war will be eternal. They'll resettle and cement here in the new final Atlantis. 22. Ever the Younger. Death has no age. Likewise, the collapse has no age. When the calendar burns, there is no more time. Events transpire but in random progression. The memories progress and reevaluate the eye, losing continually. Ashes do not hold moments, no inflated, poignant records, no hieroglyphic ciphers, no painful waiting prose. So when the collapse occurs, it will be in sudden terror. The acceleration of output flies off the wheel of fortune. The hierophants in towers jump from tiled office, and the bodies quickly collate and coagulate like ink pools. The death of all culture, the eldest of the old dead, like corpses wrecking on the table of the doctor. The death of culture births new, bearing light in spirals. Eclipsing the eternal, it becomes a new child. 23. Total magnetic polarization. Total magnetic polarization, a perfect electric conformity. The pillars of man are displayed here like iron halberds and pikemen. This is the final Atlantis, a nation of selfless employ. The thousands line up in their hundreds, the people are metered out like toys. The drugs split the self and the sorrow, no money or hubris in need. Direct to jack into the silence, the brain ascertains as they bleed. The people are bent by the furnace, a blacksmith transforms a felt fate. Hephaestus, the master of science, conforms the elect potentate. Bending by the will of fire, the person becomes like a blade, hammered and mastered to melt down, hardened like stone it is made. The earth is a generative pulse, the scientist cuts like a knife. The people like magnets are then pulled, the leaders are hidden from sight. The unstoppable ego is all now, the Brahmin of some new-clad fame. The Republic of Plato subverts now, our economists master the game. There's no need for trade or for money, all property abolished too. You don't need to care if you own it, since the perfect one's shape and a tune. In service, allegiance, devotion, a persistent alchemical flame. The plan is unstoppably sent forth, and it executes all that remains. It executes all that remains. 24. Obedience and sacrifice. You, like all, will face a new motivation. The blind are walking near Jupiter. Their feet rest on the rings of Saturn. In a gasoline stupor you burn into speed, measured in deeds, in inches, in likelihood. The shake is unraveling here. The lines and machinations of iron refuse. Time is speeding itself, and beyond that the intensity burns. You will kill and die for us, the penetrating stare. The visage pushing in methamphetamine waves. Your hedonistic pleasure is the envy of fanatics. The martyr's ploy is the holy suicide. The saints will blow and bleed in drives, begging for their deaths in sexual ecstasy, masturbating in the spirit as the bullets strike. A hero is alive, even dead, and in the end you never had a chance. Forget your boring life, you're moving towards eternity. Eyes closed, souls open, fingers crooked, triggers pressed. A hero is a hero, and sacrifice is grace. Obviously you should die for us, beautiful. Aren't you a saint? Ave Lucifer, Ave Ko, Ave Materia, Ave Order, Ave Self. Thus concludes Grasping the Promethean Flame. Thus concludes section 3.9. And thus concludes the entire Book of the Order of Celestial Integration. Thank you for joining me on this listening journey. If you have more questions, I invite you to go to our website, orderofcelestialintegration.org. And if you would like to pursue our priesthood or learn more about our organization, then email us at theorderofcelestialintegration@gmail.com or text me at 910-465-9301. We'll be picking up next time with a brand new book. I will see you then. Olam.